And we are live, the official greeting of every YouTube video. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't been here for quite a while, but I thought that was a good time as any to show off some some of my latest purchases from the Amadora Comics Festival, the convention slash art exhibit that we have here in Portugal every year. And I wasn't there so much for the guests, and I avoided the the lines for the autographs as much as possible. So I got zero autograph books this year. But I wanted to check out what was available, especially because there were books from last year that I was not able to buy last year, and so I finally got them, which means that I haven't bought some books from this year. Uh, we already have some guests here. What's up, Sequential Geek? He's in the house. Sleepy Reader as well. Hey, Damien. And my man Vinny. So I'm gonna post the link to StreamYard here in the chat. Should anyone want to come in, and then we can talk some about and somebody can ask some specific questions. But first, let's start with this is one of the books that came out last year that I hadn't bought. O Fado Ilustrado. So this is a reference to a Portuguese style of music from the 19th century um, that started in Lisbon, and it was basically our blues, very urban type of music, but that showed off the centuries that the country had. The action here is set in the period when republicanism took hold in Portuguese society. So between the British ultimatum after the scramble for Africa and the Portugal joining World War One, and it includes the 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 attempts to install a republic in place of the monarchy, including the failed coup attempt in 1908 with the assassination of the king, and then finally the successful revolution of 1910, which deposed the monarchy. The type of art that we have here is really not it doesn't considering the themes, it looks very cartoony, but it's kind of appropriate because it's based on the cartoonist style that we had back in the 19th century. We already had some cartoons on the newspapers, and there were a couple of magazines that had the sequential storytelling uh, with 4 cartoon panels, especially that made by Rafael Bordal Pinheiro, and it's emulating that style here a bit, of course, all through a modern lens. The artist Jorge Miguel mainly works he's Portuguese, but he works mainly for the French market. Um, Unfortunately, there are no books in English from the with his work, but if you can try to find it in French, he did a science fiction series called Sapiens Imperium, and also something called Shanghai Dream, which I still have to buy. See if we can have some more art here. Yep, and this was the king of Portugal before the assassination. And here's the center of Lisbon back in the late 19th century. What else? I'm going to take out some. Okay, no, this one. All right. Mercenary. I'm going to take out the plastic wrapping. It's still wrapped. going to cut the plastic wrap if I can. I don't have the scissors here. Out goes the wrapping. Here we go. And here we are. Volume 11 of The Mercenary, one of the best comic book series that came out of Spain. The first 9 volumes of The Mercenary had been published back in the 90s by AmadoraBD. Then they went out of business, and the series was left hanging. In the meantime, these books became hard to find, and this publisher, Arte de Autor, they started doing some really good quality reprints of the first 9 volumes. So far they've reprinted the first 5, and to make sure that people who already had the books from the old publisher missed my what? Mercenary, volume 11. This is what I'm showing now. Okay, so let's see some Segredes art. This is sort of science fantasy. It's supposed to be set in the year 1000. Wait, you missed my start. Man, I was showing this book because it's a book about Portugal set in the late 19th century, leading up to the Republican Revolution of the 20th century. Greyman, what's up? Okay, so back to Mercenary. Painted art goodness. So the books 10 and 11 were the ones that hadn't been published yet. But book 10 I bought 2 years ago, and this is book 11. Let's see if we can get some monsters. Whoa, why do we have 9 panels per page? This is not normal. Yeah, but this set is sort of in the year 1000, but it's an alternate 1000. The Mercenary started. The Mercenary started coming out. It was serialized in the CMOC magazine starting about 1983. Although this book's from 2015. Segredes is over 80, so even though it all looks like painted art, he's actually doing everything on the computer now because his hands are not as good as they used to be. So yeah, normally there would be a few splash pages that I could show, but this book is full of 8 and 9 panel grids. So nothing that's really spectacular, although the details are quite impressive, like these bugs. Oh, and I can see that the canopy that the Mercenary uses to fly around in his flying dragon is much more technological now. Oh yeah, here it is. Hi Terrence. So I still have to watch your show from yesterday. Once again, if somebody wants to come in and we can talk and I can show the stuff and you can have some more direct questions, I have the StreamYard link. If you go up in the chat. More monsters. That's kind of what we like about Segredes is the monsters. But this is not a continuing series. You can enjoy each chapter individually and out of order. Like reading any novel series, and we even have this book here has some pages where Segrelles is explaining the process of creating his comics. So here you can see uh, actual splash pages. The Mercenaries Dragon. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Terrence. We've actually went to winter time. We're outside of the daylight savings time 1 week before North America. So, okay, what else do we have here? Oh yeah. So if I have this, I also need this. Yeah. Okay. So my LCS has their own publishing concern, Kingpin Books. And this is a reprint of their first album series. The formula now it's getting now an English language edition as well. Finally, and you can buy it at the Kingpin Books website. I think it's should be kbportugal.pt, and it has a section in English, and you'll be able to find the books there. This has been slightly recolored. It's sort of funny animals, and you see the character growing up, and he becomes a scientist, and he figures out the formula for happiness, and he becomes a celebrity because of it. He can make anyone happy except himself. So a bit fatalistic. The story also has a new epilogue here. So for this 10th anniversary reprint, we get the extra pages. Yeah, exactly. These are the ones that I just bought at the con. All the publishers were there, so I could buy. The book is now over 100 pages. Yeah, over 100 pages now. And the writer Nuno Duarte, he also writes for television. He has another book in English from the publisher's website, The Waltz, which is about the Portuguese cultural equivalent of zombies. And the artist Osvaldo Medina, who I keep showing as much as possible because we really need to get this guy on the international stage. He's the best artist that we have right now. Unfortunately, he hasn't been published internationally as he should have. His books, his 2 volumes of Kong the King have been published in English. I think they're still available also from the Kingpin website. And speaking of Kingpin, the Mario, the website. I'm going to write it in the. I'm going to write it over there in the chat, and you can go there. Right. So Mario, the owner of the shop and of the publishing concern. Hey Eric, when you were a boy. No, this is all modern. This is all recent, except for one book, which I'll be showing. Mario has been doing these 16-page shorts. This is the third one. The first one, he tried to work with an artificial intelligence program, and he ended up having to redraw a lot of stuff. The second one was a collaboration with a couple of artists that are better known for doing humor. So he's doing not straight up humor, but it was interesting. And this one is more about the artwork. So vinyl rubro, crimson vinyl, and and he uses it for effects in the cover, but also inside. The art is done by Alice Prestes, who I didn't know before this. You did. Kingpin is the name of the local comic shop that I go to. So yeah, this art's pretty good. I hope that Mario works with Alice in future in the future. See if they can get a graphic novel going. Yeah, but this was an experiment that Mario did. Three books. I have all three, so so I can't wait to read this, especially because it's only 16 pages. What else do we have here? And do I have to take out? Okay, so I bought this, and turns out I had already bought it. So I need to see if I can replace this with volume 6. This is one of the French Conans. The Scarlet Citadel, written by Luc Brunschwig, with art by Etienne Leroux, and it's a King Conan story. So all European style, not typical Conan. Oh, where's in the map? If you come to Portugal in Lisbon, it's right next door to the Church of Scientology, so you can't miss it. Some beasties. This was supposed to be a 12-book series, but it's already on the 14th. Oh, I am strictly nonfiction. Whenever I try to write fiction, it sounds like a, a bunch of cliches being strewn together, and going from point A to point B without any surprises. No, the city's in the mouth of a river. The shop is not. More books. Oh yeah, let's go for this one. Macbeth, King of Scotland, by Thomas Day and Guillaume Sorel. This is the Portuguese edition of the French graphic novel. It tells the story of Macbeth from the point of view of Lady Macbeth. Let's take out the wrapping. Ouch, plastic. We're all seeing the art at the same time. Here we go. Looks appropriate for Shakespeare. In here, it's typically European. This looks interesting, so I think I'm going to enjoy this. This is actually a 2-book series in France, so they published this as a double album. And here's where the second part begins. Also, this one. Pretty good with the colors. It's almost like it's using negative space, but it isn't. Okay, we got some things that I can't show here because of the terms of service. But yeah, this is fun. Macbeth, King of Scotland. I think there's somebody in the U.S. already published this in English. What else? Oh, there it is. Oh. So this publisher has tried this out, and it was a commercial failure because they're a regular book publisher, and they tried publishing some Will Eisner graphic novels, including this one, which is kind of odd for them. They had no idea how to market this, so it was only €5, and I finally bought it. And they used Comicraft Comicraft lettering software, and it's very inappropriate for a Will Eisner comic. Fully in black and white. Yeah. Of course, these are the Gary Challoner stories, so not really the original Will Eisner. Yeah, but now I have it. What else do we have here? Oh, another book by Portuguese authors, Cobra, Operation Goa. This is inspired by real world events during the decolonization process. And it's going to become a book series. The writer Marco Calhorda has already announced plans for 3 more books in the next 3 years. The artist Daniel Maia is pretty good. He's probably the artist that we have in Portugal who's closest to a normal superhero style. And this is a war book. It's black and white. We can have some war scenes. Here's a good airplane scene. Because it's in black and white, the Daniel can work a lot with the shadows for volume. Yeah. Unfortunately, we also have that thing that really breaks the story flow, which is the text as part of the story. Doesn't really work. And there's a lot of it. Okay. We do have some battle action. This is not something that we usually do here. Unlike America with the Vietnam War, or even Spain with the Spanish Civil War, we always try to avoid mentioning the colonial war because it upsets people's political leanings, even though it doesn't have to be, because this affected a lot of people on a personal level, and it should go beyond the political. We have a real hard time exercising our ghosts. Yes, Goa was the main part of Portuguese India. There were a few other bits that were also part of the colony, but Goa is the most famous one. I think this is going to be a fun read. One thing that we have very little of is action, is action adventure. Even if when you start off with action adventure, then a lot of the authors want to get all philosophical, and then it doesn't really work. Okay, so we got mercenary and this, and oh yeah. Okay, one of my favorites here. So last year I bought Dracula, the direct adaptation, and now here it is, Frankenstein by George Best. Let me take out the plastic wrap because this thing is creating huge glare. That looked very much like a British war comic. Exactly, yeah. Some of during the 1960s and 70s, some of the comics that sold better here, they reprinted British war stories from the IP from the IPCB magazines, and especially the aviation stories. They were our favorites. The Battler Britain was completely rewritten here to become a Portuguese World War II flying ace instead of a British one, even though we were not present in World War II. Yeah, yeah, Battle. I think we like to get stuff from Commando more. Although they were all available, they got a bunch of stories and then they reprinted. Johnny Red. No, we had Battler Britain. It was renamed Major Alvega. Okay, now I can show this properly. The next book that George Best is going to adapt is from is a Victor Hugo novel. And there it is. Both. We're kind of getting philosophical. We're kind of fatalist, and we like to talk a lot about our feelings in art because we hide them in our daily lives. Uh, so that ends up affecting the comics creators. So also we don't have as many cultural heroes as other countries as far as fighting goes. So we don't have that sort of heroic inspiration that led to the development of the Western hero or the fin de siècle heroes of British and French literature. This I, I'm not sure if this is not gothic at all, but it's very science fiction, and seeing Frankenstein in something that doesn't resemble typical gothic. But like Dracula, George Best is trying to get away from the typical portrayal of the character. So Dracula doesn't look like Christopher Lee, and Frankenstein doesn't look like was it Lon Chaney? Can't remember. I've never been a very big fan of horror. Okay, here you can see what Frankenstein's face looks like here. He has long hair. Okay, now this is the stuff that he's good with. Yeah, Boris Karloff. Yeah, this is what George Best is good at. Landscape. Very detailed. It doesn't come off very good on the screen, but seeing this page, this drawn across two pages, this should have been a portrait. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. I can't even remember the last time I saw a black and white book that was from one of the traditional indies, the ones that have been at it for decades. But in France, no, Georges Bess. See, but this book is available in Portuguese and so is Dracula. In English, I mean, and so is Dracula. This one reads better, but it's the monster going back to civilization. But it follows the monster. It's very much a book about the monster. Um, oh, so it's bound to become a tearjerker at some points. This book, yeah, 200 pages, almost as big as Dracula. Okay. Here are some graphic studies for the series. We do have comics about football. Roy of the Rovers was also big here for a while. Am I missing something here? Yeah. Oh no, only those ones. So I bought all 3 books of Sons of El Topo. So any Jodorowsky movie fans out there will know that one of his movies from the 1970s was called El Topo. It was a very strange Western, and these 3 books are sort of a continuation. And the best part they have for me is that they have art by Ladronn. It doesn't look like typical Ladronn, although it is recognizable. So the page layouts are kind of recognizable, but this looks a lot more European than what I used to do. Hey Kyle, what's up? Uh, I'm showing off the books that I bought at the Amadora Festival. Do not understand the movie. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Oh, this is the Kirby Ladron. See? well, well, I think you should. I've been trying to think about buying this for quite a while. So it's not going to read like a traditional Western, I think. But it probably makes more sense than the original movie. Of course, jump in. Santa Sangre. Yeah, it did. I think, and I think Jodorowsky's sons have also started doing comics as well. He really changes styles. Yeah, he does. But here, I guess it's more recognizable. At least the layout. Okay, so let's go for book 2. Ladronn deviates more from his usual style. So if you didn't recognize Ladronn in the first book, in the second, you definitely won't. Like in this page. Yeah, here it doesn't look like Ladronn at all. Very weird in some aspects. It's got the wings. This character here. And book 3. Let's take out the wrapping. The publisher had a special, buy all 3 books for 45 euros. Book 3. So it's Cain and Abel together. Okay. Yeah, Kyle was asking if he wanted to come in, but he's not coming in. I'm going to post the StreamYard link again if anybody wants to jump in. Yeah, once more. Well, this pose is more Ladronn. You can see the Kirby pose and the Kirby face. This is Noreen Rad before he became the Silver Surfer. It's my only haul of the year. I did buy a couple of books a few months ago, but now I spent more money than I should have. So that was the haul. Remember, if I can keep going, if anybody wants to jump in and talk. That was it, and I did not buy everything that I wanted. Especially the Great Gatsby adaptation was published in Portugal as well, and I did my previous video. I talked to the artist Jorge Coelho. Unfortunately, budgetary considerations prevented me from buying the book now. So maybe next year it'll be a bit cheaper, and I can finally go for it. There were a few other things. I was trying to see if I could get a few more of the Poirot comics. Um, the publisher, the El Topo publisher, the this one. They also they have the rights to publish the Agatha Christie graphic novel adaptations, and I was probably going to go for, I wanted to go for a few more of the Poirots, but I didn't. How much do these books go for? Oh, here it is. Hey Cal, what's up?
Hey dude, sorry it took me a bit to set up. I'm dragging today.
No problem. Let me just answer the Graham here. They kind of depend on the pages. There are books that were pretty cheap at 15 euros. Others were more expensive at 25. But they are getting expensive. We don't have, since these are all hardcover graphic novels in European size. It's not the same as buying old back issues, especially because we don't have back issues. Yeah. Kyle, if you had grown up only with graphic novels, would you have become a comics fan?
It's a good question. Maybe not.
Yeah, I can see that. Although the people that I know here that who read mostly European comics, they complain that they can't buy everything. It's just that we don't have a bunch of books with the same character every month. We have to wait another year or two for the next one to come out.
Yeah, I grew up on that 22 page once a month anticipation, sometimes twice a month, where I'd get that appetizer, but I'd have to wait another month to get the follow up to that. And like a graphic novel, when it's all put together, it's an immediate payoff because, I'd have a graphic novel read in one sitting.
Hmm.
I'd read 200 pages in one sitting and not even bat an eye. So it'd be a singular payoff. It'd take longer to read, but it'd be a
Yeah.
singular payoff where, the delayed gratification of, or even crossover events, maybe where 2 books in a month, you get 44 pages of a 300-page story or something, then you got to wait a
Hmm.
month and have it spread out. And that's how I grew up reading and loving it. So,
Hmm.
I like delayed gratification. So I'd
Well,
rather
yeah.
have it that way. I don't dislike graphic novels,
Hmm.
but to me, they're just more or less bound volumes. I'd rather
Hmm.
have book by book by book, and I'd rather wait a year for 12 issues than get it in one sitting and be able to read it in one sitting.
Yeah, the French what the French did, they pre-published the graphic novel. So they had magazines, and they would have 1 or 2 pages per week. And by the end of the year, they would have an album would be done, and they would get all the pages that they had done and
Yeah,
put it in a hardcover volume and publish. But so you had to buy the magazine every week
yeah.
if you were trying to read one. And by the 1970s, the idea had run its course, and by the 1980s, most of those magazines had disappeared. I think there are only two of the mainstream ones left. So uh,
Spiro's long gone, right?
no, Pilot is gone. Tintin, Journal de Tintin is gone, but Spirou is still going on, and so is Spief.
I've got a 1958 Spiro. I
Hmm.
would like to have 3 issues later than what I have. The issue I have is 3 issues before the first Smurfs.
Mm.
So
Wow.
I would like to have the first Smurfs. So
The Smurfs even debuted in a story that where they were not the main characters. Sort of took over.
yeah,
It's like Marsupilami. Marsupilami started it in the Spirou stories, but then it went to his own series. Uh, but I had Marvel and DC in monthly digest magazines. What happened is that the European graphic novels were more expensive, so I read them at the supermarket and I left them there.
hey, there you go. Can't beat that with a stick.
Yeah, my
That's
mom
your
was doing
very
the
own
shopping.
library.
Yeah, my mom was doing the shopping, and I was in the book section reading all the comics.
And saving your
Yeah.
allowance up for something else.
Hmm. Yeah,
The way
but
to
some
do
books,
it.
yeah, some books they wouldn't look as good if this would not have worked if it was an ongoing. Do
Well, that's Wrightson's Frankenstein, right?
no. This is the French one, by Georges Bess.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, last year I bought the Dracula book. This year I bought the Frankenstein, and he's already working on a Victor Hugo adaptation in the same format.
Yeah.
This guy worked on an Incal spin-off with Jodorowsky. Can't remember which one. It wasn't the Techno Priests. No, it was the White Llama.
Yeah, those
Uh,
classics in that format are absolutely amazing.
mhm,
Just amazing.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, got a Macbeth
especially
here too.
Wrightson's. Do you have Wrightson's
Yeah,
Frankenstein?
I don't.
Oh,
Although last 2 years ago I did something funny. Do you remember the when First Comics brought back the Classics Illustrated
yeah,
in the 80s? So one of those was an adaptation of Moby Dick by Bill Sienkiewicz,
yeah.
and 2 years ago I bought the French edition So album size, it's even better.
Nice. Yeah, I love Classics Illustrated. I've got a whole short box of first edition classics. So,
Yeah. Damien says any and all comics would have addicted. Yeah, I get it. I mean, the my first contact with comics was probably the newspaper strips that on the newspaper that my dad used to buy. The comics page had four daily strips: Winnie the Pooh, Hagar the Horrible, the Phantom, and Garth, which is a British strip. First album that hooked me. I don't know. First, my middle school library had Asterix, Tintin, and another series called the Four Aces, which was also in the Linclair. It wasn't in the Linclair style, but it came out in Tintin magazine. But the thing that really hooked me that was European was the auto racing comic called Michel Vaillant. Conan, cool, or Red Sonja? Uh, Conan, I guess. I'm I wanted to have all of these. Because when Conan went in the public domain, the French decided to adapt all of the Robert E. Howard Conan stories. It was supposed to be a 12 book series, but they're already going on the 14th, and every one of them has a different writer and different artist. Um, and it doesn't look like John Buscema or Barry Windsor Smith at all. They look very European. But what I wanted them to do was go with the other Robert E. Howard characters, because especially because I wanted them to adapt Shadow of the Vulture, because it would be the first time ever that the real Red Sonja would appear in a comic.
there you go.
Red Sonja is not a part of the Hyborian Age.
Yeah. You a fan of Solomon Kane and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. Remember when they published those collections of Howard stories? I have the Brand McMorn and Solomon Kane are the ones that I like best, even more than the than the Conan books. I'm still trying to go the one with Alborek. I didn't go. I didn't finish that one.
I did something today I haven't done in probably 6 months. We went out to pick up some of the kids and grandkids' Christmas presents and
Hmm.
happened by one of the discount bookstores, and I actually went in and got a couple comic books. My wife's like, "You want to go get some comic books? I'll let you go get some comic books." Since my past week has been basically hospital visits or bedridden for the most
Mm.
of it. So this is my fun pickups of the day. I think most of these are repeats, but Michael Turner variants.
Mm.
I know. Michael Turner variant.
Yeah, that was when Captain America died, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
One more Turner variant. And then utter randomness. Little Spire Christian comic, Tom Landry of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then to finish the weird, an 8-page promotional comic of Cheap Trick.
Uh,
So I can put that with all my Cheap Trick swag.
yeah, I had promotional comics that came out in cereal boxes. Those were made in France, but they came in the cereal boxes, and then I threw them out because when I was a kid, I was an idiot, and those weren't real comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, things a kid does. Let me just answer Graham here. Not the wet llama, the white llama. It's a
Wet llama.
spin-off from the Incal. It's science fiction. So far
Get
behind in
wet
those
around
Sumerian.
llamas because they spit on you.
Yeah, comic crack. I'm so far behind in those Sumerian books. Yeah, the problem is that since they come out as mini series, so instead of albums in the U.S. and they're not being published in the same order as France. So you kind of don't know which way you're going. But yeah, the series is up to volume 14 in French. I can't believe they keep going. I hope they don't have to resort to do Elspreg the camp stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elspreg the
Hey,
camp is to Conan what Phil Collins was to Genesis.
there you go. I'm all excited now. I just realized something.
Hmm.
This is a first print, no price.
Oh,
This is actually quite rare.
oh,
And
nice.
I only got that for a couple bucks. I mean, this is only a couple dollars for all these things put together, but didn't even notice that when I picked it up. But it's hard to get those with no price on them because that means it never saw distribution. It was passed out in churches.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
somebody's church got that and
Yeah.
found its way to me. It's
Yeah.
one of them I've been looking for decades, but
We don't have many religious comics here. You'd think that with the Catholic Church and all being so prevalent in society, we would have, but we don't.
yeah. Well, it's promotional material. That's what they use it for. They figure if the kids are going to like it, they'll pump it out there. But like Spire and stuff got big here in the Catholic Guild in the 40s, and there's always been a thing for them. You know, that way they can put them in dentist office and stuff like that, and be inspirational and be against the bad comics. You know, they'd have Dell comics because they're good
Mm-hmm.
comics, but then they'd put the ones with a message in them. And
We used to have some pretty good historical comics here. They were very much um, Alex Raymond type illustrations. The very static, but very detailed. So they were appropriate for historical comics, and that's how kids in the 50s and 60s here learn history. Although it was a bit propagandistic because at the time we had state censorship of all media. But the the art's pretty interesting. I have one or two around here, and I don't know where they are. Wasn't it? I think it was. It's Jodorowsky, right? White Llama. We only got one album here, because the publisher didn't keep on. It's kind of hard for the Portuguese publishers to launch a new series, because if they're doing US material, they launch the first volume, even if it's trade paperbacks. They launch the first volume, and then immediately all the guys who liked it are going to buy the rest of the series in English, so they don't wait for the rest to be published in Portuguese. And as for the French, these books are so expensive, but at the same time, since there are fewer people nowadays reading in French than there were back in my dad's time, um, we tend less to search the originals. Uh, of, but of course, in Portugal, if you're a comics fan, you need to know at least two foreign languages.
yeah,
We don't
yeah.
even have we don't even have Marvel and DC anymore.
Wow. So, what's your all-time favorite comic that you own?
My all-time favorite. Mm. Well, I once found the Star Slammers graphic novel by Walt Simonson. I gotta have this, and I did. I bought it. It was interesting. The 80s science fiction aesthetic is something that I really miss,
Yeah,
because it was all epic and it's still space based. And then the X Files, when the X Files became popular, it kind of switched the science fiction to uh, modern day planet Earth, and the aesthetics are not are not there for me.
yeah. I've got a black and white advance copy of Star Slammers 1. Of course, I got the first issue too, but I got an advanced copy, limited to like 5,000 copies.
Hmm.
Got issue -1 and issue 0 of X-Files autographed. Stuff, man. If we were neighbors, I'd be like, "Hey, you like this? This sound cool? Here you go.
Thanks.
There you go."
That would be nice. Uh, I wish that I could give you French comics so you could learn more about them. That's one of the things that I do on Wednesday nights. I go to Graphic Man's channel on the Four Color Fossils. Now they show off their old comics, the ones with all of the Archies and the Bernie Wrightson's horror. But I don't show them comics. I show them images of stuff, and I explain the either if it's something that's made in France, I explain the series, the what the creators were doing, the context in which the comics were published. Although sometimes I show them how U.S. properties were published in other countries. I mostly focus on Brazil and in France. Although I've shown a few Spanish editions, because there's a famous French cover for when a publisher called R.D. Artima got the rights to Aquaman. There's that cover with Aquaman holding Mera. They replaced Mera with a dolphin because you
Little
couldn't
Alf
show,
cover there.
yeah, you couldn't show a man holding a woman on a cover for a children's publication. And the French Comics Code Authority, unlike the American one, was run by the government. It was created in 1949 of a strange alliance by the French Communist Party and the Catholic Church.
That's insane.
No,
Yeah, that
you
makes
get.
no sense to me because on one hand they're pumping out French postcards,
Hmm.
and then on the other hand they're like, "Well, we're going to be prudish and not put this on a comic book cover." Who are you kidding? You guys are
Yeah.
like the masters of sex here. It's
but
nothing to be
the
prude about if it's not graphic.
but the law for kids publications meant that they couldn't show anything that would even hint at sex. It only changed in the 1960s.
Yeah.
The law's still in the books, but
By the
it's
time they got to my Emmanuel books, I got up there. That's they just went triple X as far as those go.
mhm, yeah. The but that's when, but that's also around that time that they also started doing the more hardcore magazines and newspapers, because that's when Charlie Hebdo starts in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
Uh, and there was a magazine called Bodoy, and also uh, Fluid Glacial. And that's where they did all the Fluid Glacial was sort of the mainstream version of Charlie Hebdo. What Mad should have been if it was not published in America.
I would
uh,
I would give my right arm for Muhammad issue of Hebdo.
mhm. I think I still have one. We have a monthly comics dinner, a monthly dinner for comics dinner party for comics fans in Lisbon, which I usually go to. And the founder of who unfortunately is already deceased. He lived to 85. But the founder he brought back from Paris the first issue that they published after the terrorist attack. And I think I know I have that copy because I won it in a raffle at the monthly comics dinner. But I don't know where it is.
Yeah, that'd be something to have. I mean, that's true historical significance because
Hmm.
I'll never understand that. I'll never understand that. That's oppression beyond words to go in and shoot somebody for drawing a picture.
Hmm.
I mean, there's, I granted, I mean, like if it was bad things happening to kids, I'd go in and shoot up an office if they were printing that. But you know, that's totally different. That's criminal. That's not just opinion. But I don't know. I'll never understand that. You can't depict Muhammad. Why would they even say that? You know, Muhammad was supposed to be about love. Why not be able to?
Oh no, the guy was a warlord.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, love and war, whatever. It's all. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to go down a political bent as much as I want to, but
Yeah. Uh, no, I just remember the first time that I bought a comic uh, eh, outside my country. We had our senior year senior year trip, and we went to a town to the north of Barcelona. And one day I said, let me go and see if I can buy a magazine or something. And I found their comics. So up to that point, I'd mostly bought. We had the superheroes came from Brazil, and then we finally, thanks to the X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons, we finally had some Portuguese made editions. And I knew where to get newsstand editions of U.S. comics, but I just didn't buy them because I knew that we were 2 years behind what was going on in the U.S. and I didn't want to jump forward. But then I ended up buying a couple of them. But now I was in Spain and I bought. Oh, let me take this, and I bought one amalgam in Spanish, one Iron Man, and one New Warriors. And a friend of mine got a Young Blood spinoff because they in Spain they can publish everything. And so he bought a Young Blood spinoff. It had art by Chap.
so how many languages are you fluent in?
Actually, only two. I besides Portuguese, which is my native language, I speak
Yeah.
English fluently. I get around well enough in French and in Spanish. The both of us, we go grab dinner anywhere in France. We will not go hungry. I just can't have an intelligent conversation in
Yeah.
French. Spanish is close enough. What I do is Spanishize the Portuguese, and all of a sudden they understand me. Italian, I can't speak, but I can read. Because if you know French and Italian, if you know French and Spanish, you should be able to read Italian.
Yeah. I know how to curse in a few languages, but about it.
Yeah, I once saw a few comics in the airport in in Munich, but since I can't read German, I ended up not buying them. No point.
I lost
They even had
track
a
of.
German Mad magazine.
Well, that'd be cool. I think I have comics from like 32 different countries.
Hmm.
My last count. I think I have 32 separate countries, but
Since I only buy them to read, I'm kind of limited on the countries
yeah,
that I can have comics from. But
yeah.
it's still a few.
I get
But
those just to have them sometimes. Just to can't really do much with them, but it's just nice to have. And
one of the dealers at the Comic Con I just went to, they mostly had Spanish editions, and I couldn't buy them. And they looked amazing because they have stuff that doesn't exist in the U.S.,
yeah,
including a complete Howard Chaykin's Black Kiss in
yeah.
hardcover. I wanted to buy that. They had the full Alex Toth Zorro also in a hardcover volume, album sized, and I'm still missing out on buying the Ethernaut, which is the greatest comic from Argentina.
We're Howard Chicken's on a short list on a upcoming guest visit on our Wednesday show.
Oh, nice.
Bill Field's going to get Chaikin in there for an episode.
Hmm.
Sienkiewicz too, but got to wait for the downtime before we can start bringing
Yeah,
those guys back in.
Yeah, unfortunately, you guys have the live show at the time I'm having dinner, so I can't see it. I can't be there. I would love to exchange some words with Shaken. Me and a friend of mine here with if we had money, we would publish a Howard Chicken library because the Portuguese language editions that we've had came from Brazil. Howard Chicken has never been published in Portugal, and that's a crime. I
I've
don't even
got
know where I would
so
start.
much checking stuff. I've got checking autographs, checking portfolios. I wouldn't even begin to know what to talk to him about when get him on the show. I mean, other than the obvious, how cool was it for him to be handpicked to do the first interpretation of Star Wars?
I guess that's probably the part that he finds the most boring nowadays. I would like to exchange some ideas on him on the concept of author comics and doing author comics in mainstream themes, uh, because that was what he wanted to do with American Flag, and
Yeah.
even the stuff that he had published in what was that black and white mag from the 70s, the one that Mike Friedrich created.
Well, there was Star Reach.
Yeah, Star Reach, because he had that space pirate character.
Yeah. And then he
Yeah.
did 20 different versions of Dominic Fortune or whatever you want to call him. He called him 10 different things.
Uh, I remember now the name for the space pirate, Cody Starbuck. That's a
Cody
pretty good
Starbuck.
name.
I've
Yeah.
got a Cody Starbuck um, signed lithograph set up there right when he first came out. Always a big Chaikin fan.
Mhm. There was a series made in France by what was that thing called? I have that books. Let me see if I can find that book. I think I still have it close by. Can you entertain the crowd for 20 seconds?
Hello, I'm Tinkerbell Hornswoggle.
Tell
Welcome
them
to
the truth,
Paolo's
Kyle.
Show. Welcome to Paolo's Show. I'm back to just randomly popping up on shows going, hi, let's talk comics.
Oh man, I don't have it at hand. Or do I? Do I?
So, what's the fanciest comic you own? I don't want to say the most expensive, but I mean the most sought after.
I wouldn't say it's sought after. It's probably not sought after at all. But do you remember when Byron Price? And actually, it's a chicken, but I'm going to take it out. I'm going to bring it over so you can see. Let me see if I can't find that thing. Where's that thing? I have no idea where I put all my stuff. I just whenever I put it away, uh, I find a I find a space somewhere in the bookcase and just stash the things there. But it's not organized in any manner at all. Where the hell is that thing? I know I have it somewhere. Where can I find stuff? It's ridiculous. It's not there. It's not here. It's not here. I give up. I'm gonna bring something here. So remember, Byron Price did a few special editions for Epic Comics, and this is probably the one of the oddest comics that I have.
Huh, never seen that before.
Yeah, it's shaken. It's not an actual comic. It's illustrated. It's like when Steranko did Red Chandler.
Yeah, Picto pages.
Yeah, and And Price did another thing that I wanted to have, which is Kurtzman's Strange Adventures, which is a series of vignettes drawn by different artists. Yeah, but this was pretty cool. I mean, just jumped right out at me.
There you go. I've got a couple of original comics with some Kurtzman Hey looks in it. You know what Kurtzman can take partial credit for, don't you?
For creating Mad Magazine?
For helping put together Monty Python.
Oh. When was that?
He put out Help Magazine and A and stuff like that. And that's where Terry Gilliam came from doing the graphic stuff. And then Terry plugged into Chapman and Cleese, and there's some issues of that where he's shooting Chapman and Cleese in these little fummities. And because of that, Idol and them kind of plugged into them, and that's how they kind of wound up together. Kurtzman had a hand in Monty Python coming together, or introducing the world to Terry Gilliam. And, you know,
the book I was trying to find. Have you ever heard of a French comic series called Kelly Green?
No.
Well, which is too bad because it was made by Americans for the French market. And that's something that I wanted to ask Chaikin if he ever thought about doing that, because his style has a lot in common with the European style. But Kelly Green was written by Stan Drake and drawn by Leonard Starr, and it had 5 albums in France. I know the first 4 were published in the US in the 1980s. I guess they're pretty hard to find. The 5th one, unfortunately, is the one that I'm sure that a lot of people would have bought because it's set in the San Diego Comic Con, and Kelly Green. Kelly Green is a female investigator. She's the widow of a police officer. She's not very good physically, but she becomes embroiled in some events, usually involving criminal activity, and she has to solve it. And she's good looking. She would have to be. She's drawn by Leonard Starr.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, we're going to get some heads up and have some advance notice when we're going to get Chaikin on. So even if you can't be in the thread that day, we'll get you to jot down some questions about that, get him to answer them. That way you can watch them, and we can say, hey, here's some questions from around the world. So, because he loves to talk. So.
Yeah. I remember the interview he gave to the comic book historians. That was one of their best shows.
Yeah, that's Bill. That's Bill Field. That's who we do the show with now on Wednesdays. Lately, it's just been me and Bill with Gray popping in on occasion. But Mark gets back from his gig, and Gray gets better internet, and Nebs comes back around. That'd be nice, but.
Yeah, I love to join you guys because it's the same type of discussion that I have on Fridays at Jared Osborne's channel. That we don't talk specifically about a comic. We just start talking, and then the conversation goes places, and we talk about our stuff about our lives that may or may not be related to comics. But we always come back around, and that's what you guys do. So
that's the best way to do it. Just be organic. Just have a conversation. Comics are what brought us together. It doesn't mean it's the only thing we have in common.
Yeah, in our monthly dinner party, we're all comics fans, but about 95% of the conversation has nothing to do with comics. And we usually have a special guest, which is a Portuguese artist doing a fanzine, or when they have a new book out. Unfortunately, we don't. There's my destination was heavy metal. But was it this one? Was it this, or was it a regular comic? But I'm not surprised. This this thing does have chapters. Yeah, but it doesn't have separators. This page starts with chapter 5. Comic Crack was asking about Stars My Destination.
Well, I'm about to get sick, so I need to bail out.
All right.
Go stretch out. I ain't been doing too well lately, so that's why I've been scarce. But I started getting sick and woozy here, and I'm like, nope, don't want to do that live on somebody's channel, but wanted to come out and share love.
But
they like seeing you, Paulo. So.
But you're not down for the down and out. You can do your regular day stuff, can't you?
I'm a little limited at the moment, but I'm getting over it.
Okay.
Aches and pains and bruises and pokes and prods. I'm not going to show up. Pokes and prods, and like I said, spent last Sunday in the hospital, and don't want to do that again anytime soon. But it's been a rough couple of days, and when I move around too much, it just kind of knocks the snot out of me. So, all right.
All right. Okay. See you later, Kyle. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to post the link again if anybody wants to come in and we can keep talking, or if not, I guess I'll shut down the stream if you. But I wish I could find that Kelly Green. I have no idea where I put it. Because it's a French series made by Americans, and there's been no cultural follow-up to it. You'd think there'd be more. When Jean-Marc L'Officier landed in Hollywood and he brought Mobius over, and then you'd think there would be more French artists interested in coming to the American market, even if they would end up losing the rights to the characters. And at the same time, you'd think that the Americans who wanted to own their own material would find it easier to get published in France, especially because they wouldn't have to come up with an ongoing series. They could create graphic novels. They would do one, and then they work on the other and publish that when it was done. All right. Okay, last chance to call anybody for to join me live. Otherwise, I'll probably shut this down. I've been going for 1 hour 17 minutes, and I hope you had fun. Oh, wait! Here it is. Terrence, had dinner? You have Kelly Green, yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I had the other window open. Yeah, there you go. I heard you talking about it, but this is it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for the family upstairs currently watching on the TV, you can shut the TV up. Shut the TV off up there.
Okay. Yes.
So those are the 3 books. I think there was a 4th one as well, but I've only ever seen these, and I found them like one at a time in like used bookstores and all sorts of stuff. So, but that is the one I think you're talking about. Dargaud put out the
exactly. Yeah. And there was a 5th album which never came out in the U.S.
Okay.
Which is the one that's set in San Diego Comic-Con, which means they probably missed out on one that would sell better.
Yeah, right. Sorry, make sure everything's shut down here. Yeah.
And there are a couple of I think there are a couple of cameos from the real life organizers, but they don't spend too much time going over the trying to put in the real people, especially because Starr and Drake worked mostly in newspapers. They would not be familiar with the people who worked in the comic books proper.
Yeah, right. I want to say it might have been. Hello, Sequential Geek. It might have been. I don't remember if it was Damien, maybe that bought. I don't know if Damien's still in the room. I think there was also a collection of this as well too that might have had. I don't remember if it had that final volume that you were talking about. I know it collected the 4 for sure. I think it was Damien. I don't remember who it was within our kind of small circle, but yeah.
That would be cool. Then you'd have all of the stories and
in one go. Yeah, I think like a hardcover thing too. So
Yeah, but it's probably that would have to be big, about 260 pages.
Yeah, right. Yeah, pretty beefy. Yeah, I mean these are 52 pages each. It looks like just for
Yeah.
these album ones. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're regular size. You
Yeah.
know, there was a time when the publishers insisted on the creators doing a 48-page album,
Mm,
because they would all go to the same printer, and they would come out all the same size. But
mhm.
nowadays they're a lot more experimental, which is how you get to the situation where they have 100 new graphic novels a month, and it comes to that question you asked once: do they make money? And the answer is no.
Yeah, yeah, right. Right, yeah. Yeah, I remember in that one stream. And I guess making them all the same size makes sort of sense, right? Like then you're dealing with a printer and there's going to be less pushback from their end, especially in those early days of printing comics or however it was maybe perceived by some of those printers, right? Maybe it was
Mhm.
perceived a lot differently than I would think it was, but maybe there was still a little bit of like the stigma. So it's like, let's make it as easy as possible for these guys to pump this stuff out for us.
Mhm. Yeah, and the French comic book publishers, they're big.
Yeah.
So the way they're trying to get published, it's in mainstream outlets. So you have to. It's not a comic rec,
Right.
but it you do have a place to put the comic books, and when you're selling them, and they all better be as close in size as possible, so that they can all go in the same place.
Yeah, right, 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 right. I don't know if I've ever asked you this before, but like when you were growing up and buying like all of the albums, all these albums, was there one kind of location you would go, or was it kind of like how it was for us early days? There was multiple spots, not just a comic shop.
The U.S. The superhero stories, they came out in digest magazines, so you
Mm,
could find those pretty much anywhere. There was a rack specifically for the digests, which is
yep.
also where you'd find the the crossword puzzle magazines, and there were a couple of other regular magazines for women who were digest. So those fit in the same place. And
Hmm.
Disney sold better. So the Marvel and DC would go along with the Disney wherever they could. And every time they
Right.
would put, every time we would get a US sized edition, which they call deluxe format.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh, Most places would not carry those.
yeah. Right. But then, as
Uh,
far as like the European stuff itself, was that kind of widely
but
available, or was that kind of
yeah, yeah,
specific?
any bookstore would have Asterix and Tintin.
Uh-huh.
And, anything else would be what's for sale now. Although a lot of the stuff would get redistributed.
Yeah.
You took him out from some place, took him out from a store, put it in another store, bring it back to the warehouse, put it back 2 years later at the same
Hmm.
price, no discounts,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because they didn't have numbers. The European comics, even though there would be new ones coming out, they didn't have numbers. So
I
if
see.
that way you wouldn't know if they were new or not. You'd have to go
Yes.
with CD indicia and see what year it was printed.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, and there were always a few supermarkets who carried them as well, but not everything.
Hmm.
Uh, but I was able to get Michel Vaillant 13 was available. There was a couple of Miguel Ancho Prado books uh, that stuff by Bourgeon you could find in the supermarkets. The one with in the slaver ships,
Oh, yeah.
and other stuff every once in a while. That was a bit more odd. You could find one. It would show up once, then it would disappear, and
Hmm.
sometimes it would show up again. But
If
if
we're lucky.
if yeah, but if you weren't if you didn't buy it, it would be very rare that you'd have the occasion to buy it again.
Yeah. Hmm.
and those were expensive. They were 6 times more
Yeah.
expensive than the digest magazines, and
Yeah, I
they
bet.
even and they we still had soft covers back then, because now it's all everything hardcover.
Mhm.
So it was easy to get, easier to
Yeah.
get. At least the parents would be more willing to buy a European comic for their kid if it was soft cover, even if it was a little bit more expensive
Right.
than an Uncle Scrooge comic.
They probably looked more educational in their minds, probably, right? It's like historical, and there was that kind of element to it, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Once my mom bought me for a birthday when I was young a book. The it has two stories from the Napoleonic War. It's just it's not fiction. It's completely historical retelling.
Mhm.
And I guess she didn't understand it was a comic.
Uh-huh.
But then again, if she looks at the theme, she wouldn't say it's a comic book, even if it has panels, because she doesn't think like that. It's a comic if it has talking ducks.
Ah, I see. Okay. So based on the characters, not necessarily
Mhm.
the fact that it has sequential art or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Because I once when Marvels was published here, I bought those, and I'm yeah, this look different. I mean, she wouldn't be interested,
Yeah.
but she understood that they were different.
And at the end of the day, she bought it. That's incredible. You know what I mean? Like that's a
Yeah,
good thing. You know?
but sometimes I hear people, oh, I started reading comics when I was 12, and I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
my parents wanted me to quit reading comics when I was 10.
Oh yeah. So they started you early, but then that was it. It was a short
Yeah,
window.
well, they never refused to buy me a book.
Yep.
And I would buy books, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of books that you consider educational, stuff about with animals. I like to know about animals at a certain time in my life.
Mhm.
Geography, I was big on geography. If it had an atlas and maps, I'd want to buy it. So I never had that problem, but they never liked the idea of the talking ducks and the guys wearing the underwear on the outside.
Yeah, right. Something ain't right about. Well, they had good instinct. Then they had very good instinct.
Yeah.
Currently upstairs, my wife and my daughter are going through Lillian's books, and because the same kind of thing. Like, pretty easy to just buy her a book, a graphic novel, and just to if she wants it, right? So, but every once in a while, you got to make sure you do the cull because she's got a lot from when she was really little that she's very much outgrown. So it's kind of cleaning things out a little bit and passing them on. So.
Yeah. Uh, Actually, my parents had bought a series of European-sized books, which I ended up giving away when we had to find some space in my room. And
Yeah.
it's a shame because I actually wanted to have. It's because they weren't normal European comics; they were Dutch characters,
Mhm.
and it was 2 volumes of 4 different series.
Okay.
One was a dwarf with low-level mystical powers, and the Dutch name was Douwe Dabbert, but here it was translated as Danny Doodle. That one
Okay.
was appropriate for kids.
Right.
Fantasy, talking animals, stuff like that. Another one was it was humor. It was a humor crime comic. It was called Johnny Goodbye, and it was set during the Prohibition era in Chicago. And Al
Hmm.
Capone even shows up.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of slapstick in the European tradition. The
Yeah.
other series was Agent 327.
Okay.
It was also humorous, but it was a spy comic, and it was a parody of Peter Gunn.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Hmm
Very cool.
The creator was Martin Lodewijk, who was the editor of Apple magazine, and Apple was where Don Lawrence published Storm. So the other two
Ah.
books were Storm. It was the first two
Uh-huh.
Storm books. Those I found amazing. Those were the ones that I actually, by the time I was 8, those were the ones that I was rereading more.
Mm-hmm.
But they all went together, and I didn't keep them, and now it's impossible to get them.
Yeah.
And
Right.
getting Storm. even new editions of Storm, they're expensive, so I've never continued reading like I wanted to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they've done good also with the Storm stuff, keeping it in print in
Yeah.
English as well too. I think there's collections that have just been coming out even recently, right? So
Yeah, but they're $50 a piece,
yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, yeah.
which is
Well,
why.
because they know there's only a small group of us over here that are reading those things, so they got to
Yeah,
make their money damn quick.
yeah. I guess we should probably go after the French editions.
Yeah. Get the kids to translate those for me.
Mhm.
One of the things when I watched the kayfabe guys just talking about like comics from other parts of the world, one of the things that kind of never really occurred to me about kind of the other cultures comics, when Ed was talking about manga and stuff and going to Japan and the aftermarket, you're saying that there's not really much of an aftermarket, everything is still at the same price. I was amazed, and it also made sense. He was saying the aftermarket for manga is enormous, and that's he says, talking to people there, talking to friends of his, due to just the space that they have in their houses, they just can't
Yep.
keep all these volumes, so they end up kind of getting rid of stuff. And I mean, that sounds like, I had similar ideas of potentially for like European stuff, and the band designates things like these kind of these
Yeah,
these
well,
gold fortresses of gold filled with
yeah,
these old European books for $1, so
no,
this
unfortunately
doesn't
not.
happen, eh? Yeah.
No. They end up disappearing, and you have to try real hard to find them. The thing is, in
Yep.
France and Spain, they end up reprinting a lot of stuff. In Portugal, we don't, which makes it
Right.
harder to find. But one of the reasons that we don't want to get rid of them is because the format, because a comic, it looks disposable. You don't mind so
Hmm.
much getting rid of it.
Hmm.
These hardcover, good
Yeah.
quality, go on the bookshelf, which is
Yep.
important. The
Yep.
comics don't go on the bookshelf, but these do. So you don't think of getting rid of them. You really, the only reason you get rid of them is if you're in trouble, and you're in financial trouble, and you need some easy money, or
Mm.
you're moving out, or you need the space, or you're moving out and you don't want to carry them with you. Yeah,
So do you find
Gus
like
was
that
telling
side of
me.
it too? You can sell them for kind of what you bought them for, even when you're doing that, or is because I mean, one of the things, one of the small comparisons, not a direct comparison. One of the things that happens here all the time, and I'm sure it does other places too, is graphic novels, like the ones that would be on the shelf. Once you've bought it, you're lucky if you can sell it for even 50% of that
Yeah,
price. You have to
well,
really cut it down.
yeah, the thing is, you can't just sell it,
Mhm.
because it's also not easy finding people who want to buy them.
I
Uh,
see.
it has since they're reading here is a niche. Nobody likes to read, and
Mhm.
reading comics is a niche within a niche. There's very
Yeah,
few of
right,
us.
right.
So while most of us would like to have more than we have, the the things that we prioritize are the ones we wanted the most.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not that easy. But yeah, I suppose that if I can sell these for the price that I bought them for in 5 years, I could.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, especially you were talking earlier about having your monthly dinner. It sounds like you've got a
Hmm.
pretty tight knit group of guys or people that you hang out with. So
Yeah.
that also makes it easier.
Yeah, all of them complaining of the same money issues.
Yeah, of course.
But
I guess, but then you get into maybe trading and stuff too. Do you guys do that sort of thing?
occasionally we
Yeah.
we raffle the comics that we don't want.
Yep.
So they're not the good ones. They're never the
Okay.
good ones.
Yeah. Right.
But I once raffle before I bought the Dark Horse reprints of Nexus. There were there was a some smaller publisher who did a digest sized reprint of the first arc,
Hmm.
and I had bought that before. That had no continuation. I had bought that before I bought the Dark Horse editions. So when I started buying the Dark Horse, I gave away an access. The problem, the other people did not appreciate what they had because
Uh,
uh, a lot of people who only buy European comics here they think that everything American is superheroes,
Yeah, right.
unless unless they've heard of Dan Klaus.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
superheroes Dan Klaus, and there's no in between. They don't know Nexus. They don't know
Hmm.
Grendel. They don't know Usagi Yojimbo.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they're not interested in getting it. You have to put it
Right.
in front of their faces. Try this, and this looks like a superhero. It isn't.
Uh-huh.
It's Nexus.
Yeah, yeah. Sit down beside them and read a couple of pages to,
Mhm.
prove it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. There I can absolutely see that would be an assumption in other parts of the world.
Mhm.
Sketchbook Geek says tell them to take a shower
Yeah.
after they read it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but a few months ago, there's a friend of mine here in Portugal. He has a website and TV channel dedicated to a website and YouTube channel dedicated to comics and the channel's in Portuguese.
Hmm.
When he does a live, if I show up, he usually invites me in, and we've had a few discussions, and we were talking about the newspaper collections,
Hmm.
you package a comic series to be sold alongside the newspapers. That and we've had Marvel collections, DC collections. We've had a graphic novel collection that was 80% Spanish material because we use they were using a Spanish publisher. Then just to the adaptation again, and there was there were a few other stuff, some American indie stuff, but no mainstream indie. Uh, and he once asked me, "Could we could we make a collection with this indie material?" And yeah, so, yeah, we could. I'm not sure how much it would sell, but it would be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and I did a whole show for him with it would I would have to try things that were either done in one, or if it's an ongoing, there's this you can pick out one story that people could read. So I was trying to
Right.
be as wide as possible with the series, but I knew that the first thing that would be published there would have to be Rocketeer. I
Uh-huh.
want Yeah, that would have to be the central piece. Then the rest, some would sell better than the others.
Hmm.
But I really, if we could have a collection like that, I did a complete listing of that, but it would have to have Rocketeer because it's probably the something that a lot of the older fans would remember
Yep.
and would want to have again.
Right, and would have wide appeal. It's also interesting to think about that, like you're saying, put it almost separating the ones that are longer into, something they would know a bit about, like almost like an album. Here's the,
Yeah,
the one album, right? Like put it in
yeah,
language they would understand,
yeah.
maybe.
Because people remember Dreadstar from Epic, but I can't do a
Yeah,
Dreadstar volume because uh, it doesn't have a closed arc that finishes a story.
right, right.
Uh, and that's the same reason I wouldn't do Grendel. Usagi Yojimbo, you can do that.
Hmm.
But for
You could
example, you
do it
try to
with
do.
some of the Grendel miniseries, though. There's all those miniseries that I
Yeah.
think would stand alone. That I mean, I haven't read Grendel proper, like the main title. I've read the offshoots and things like that, or started to this year anyway. And I mean, so not knowing the kind of main, or knowing enough of the main story, I guess maybe that's kind of the thing. But I feel like they stand alone.
Brazilian comics do well in Portugal. We've had Monica since the 1980s. In fact, we had an exhibit, a Monica exhibit, at the Amadora Festival last week. Mauricio de Souza was a guest because it was the 60th anniversary of Monica starting as a comic strip
Mm,
before it became a series of digest magazines. And a few years ago, they finally decided to let other people get credited for working in the studio, and they launched a series of graphic novels in a different art style than the normal one. And one of those graphic novels starring Monica was published in Portugal by the Portuguese publisher, and it was launched here in the festival, which I haven't really read. I wanted them to publish the astronaut stories because they're pretty good. But it's a comic for kids. It's something that it's like the Brazilian Walt. It's like the Brazilian Walt Disney.
Okay.
It does a lot. It does a lot of create a lot of characters. It's mostly humor, but it keeps it's something that parents can give to their kids, and it keeps getting published. Even when the kids all want electronic stuff, it still works. The other Brazilian stuff, it's harder to get. Although we there were a couple of graphic novels of stuff by Jaime Cortez, and I need to get my hand on those. Jaime Cortez was born in Portugal. He immigrated to Brazil when he was 19, and he became the king of Brazilian horror comics in the 1950s and 60s. He died pretty young in the 80s. He was only 60. Unfortunately, but his final works, they were available. I need to get my hand on them. Other stuff, it's hard. It's stuff that we've never heard of. There's a publisher specialized in getting indie Brazilian artists, and like Marcelo Quintanilha, and we've had a few of those graphic novels published here, but they have limited appeal.
Right.
It's loyal but small audience.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like that anywhere, I guess.
The Marcelo Quintanilha books have been published in English.
Okay.
So I think you'd like a couple of them. I wanted to buy Tungsten, although he won an award at Angoulême with Marcia, and that's probably something that you could try.
Yeah. Do you remember the title? Sorry.
I think it's in English. It's Beautiful Marcia, or Beloved Marcia. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar. Listen, Beautiful Marcia. Beautiful Marcia?
Yeah. Listen, Beautiful Marcia.
Okay. Listen,
yeah.
Okay. I'll make a note.
That thing won an award at Angoulême.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out.
Have you seen ads for the Lucca Comics Festival not the Lucca Comics Festival, the Lake Como Comics Festival in Italy? I haven't.
No.
I've been following them on Instagram, and they've already announced John Romita Jr. And Bill Sienkiewicz.
Wow.
And that thing's amazing because it's going to be a comics event in a chateau near a lake in northern Italy. You should go there, whether they have comics or not, because it's very beautiful. I went there for a car thing once, but instead of going to a sports pavilion full of smelly people trying to hawk old comics, no, you go to a chateau in northern Italy.
Yeah, right.
And you try the local cheese and wine.
Yeah.
Isn't it much better?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no chance of any smelly people at our convention. Went to the one on the weekend. We had our big convention this weekend, and it's like various other places. It's a pop culture festival, so it's the few comic booths that are there. We're pretty busy, but it's such a small amount of people going to them. You don't find too many stinky dudes anymore.
Here it is. Lake Como Comic Art Festival, May 17th to 19th, 2024. Already confirmed. John Romita Jr., Bill Sienkiewicz, Tula Lotay, Bill Morrison, Charles Vess, David Finch, David Peterson, Frank Cho, Glenn Fabry, and from
Wow.
Spain, Jordi Bernet
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
and Juancho Garnido.
Okay. Wow. Jeez. I mean, that's the draw that I guess, right?
Yeah,
Going
yeah,
overseas, right? So
yeah, and then Cheese and Wine.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some
Because
culture.
yeah, when we had Dennis Kitchen after he showed the Will Eisner exhibit, we the place where we were there's there was a cafe outside where and we took him out for beers and we just kept buying him beers.
That's amazing. And just was he talkative? Like, was he in a real,
Yeah. After we figured out that we were trying to kidnap him,
Yeah.
we were just Europeans.
Yeah.
He got to he liked. I think he liked the attention because it was the type of conversation that he probably doesn't get with American fans.
Right. Yeah, he would be an amazing guy to hear stories from, man. Really unbelievable. Cool.
Okay. So
right on, Paulo. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to chat with you. It's nice to see you doing videos and also a haul. I'll have to go back and see the first bit that I missed, but
yeah, I started with the couple of the Portuguese books.
Okay.
The ones I did show the website for my LCS. See if they can find.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw the link. I put it in my phone, so I had it to take a closer look later on tonight. Because you said they did English versions too, I think is what you were saying, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's the problem with some of our artists. There are no English. The ones that went outside, like Jorge Coelho and Felipe Andrade. In fact, we have The Great Gatsby and Layla Starr being published in Portuguese now. So those guys, we're glad that they found. But some guys who are only published here, we can't get them outside. It's really hard.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely have a look. Cool. Okay, Paulo, I'm gonna head out.
Cool. Thanks for stopping by.
Nice to see you. Yeah, thanks, man. Later.
Yeah. I'll probably just answer a couple more questions here on the work of Carlos Trillo. I don't mind. It's not my. There's a few things of his that were published here, but from Argentina, the things I like best are by Ricardo Barrero and Juan Jimenez. I want to get my hands on As de Pique. I already have the CD and a couple of the French graphic novels that were published that have Jimenez material. Those I have. But yeah, there's some Carlos Trillo around here. But I don't think I have any of his work. The Spaghetti Brothers that he did with Mandrafina, they're available here, 4 or 5 volumes, I think. Okay, well, we've been going on for almost 2 hours. Unless anybody has any more questions, I'll start winding this down. In case you missed it, showed some graphic novels, mostly European material, including the Sons of El Topo, the continuation of Jodorowsky's the Western movie El Topo, with art by Ladronn, which I have all 3 volumes of, and George Bess's Frankenstein. George Bess also has an adaptation of Dracula. All right. Well, I want to thank Kyle and Terrence for keeping me company here for a while and keeping the chat lively. Daniel GW, Sequential Geek, Grayman, also Sleepy Reader 666 was here earlier as well. Captain Lunar, I didn't know, but thanks for stopping by. And I'll do another video whenever I can. I don't do much nowadays. You can find me on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern on the Graphic Man channel for the Four Color Fossils, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Jared Osborne's channel for the Cavern of Chaos. All right. Thank you and good night, and keep reading old comics.